He's done right here.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. And you really want to know Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua, what really happened? So I'm going to show you, and I'm going to tell you, let you know what really happened between Paul and Joshua in the heavyweight fight that they had on Netflix. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, on one of my post-fight videos, I asked you guys, I was like, if you want me to make a new entry in the What Really Happened series, put that in the comments. Enough of you guys did, so here I am. Seek and ye shall receive. So that's how this works. The more you guys subscribe and engage with the content in the channel, the more it directs the channel. So help shape the channel, commit to Ego's army, and let's continue to grow this thing. So I want to talk about Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua. Let's jump right into it. Horrible fight. That's it. Horrible fight. In the words of Damon Wayans, 2 snaps and around the world. Hated it. I did not like the card. I didn't like nothing about the fight. But I want to focus on the main event. Normally in these videos, when I tell you what really happened, I give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. I guess for good, we could say that the lifelong boxer, the Olympic gold medalist, Anthony Joshua, did not lose. Because I told you before the fight, this was a career-defining, legacy-defining fight for Joshua. This was not a fight where he stood to gain anything, in my opinion. But he had everything to lose. If he were to lose to Jake Paul, it would be catastrophic. And I told you, I don't have immense trust for Joshua in general, because I feel like mentally sometimes he can fold, right? But on the contrary, the trust isn't there for Jake Paul either, right? We've never really seen Jake Paul fight an actual, really kind of in prime boxer. Oh, but Ego, what about Mike Tyson? He fought Mike Tyson, Ego. Mike Tyson was like 60 years old almost. 20-something years removed from his actual fighting career. And I told you all of this on my channel. Like, just put this in perspective. Mike Tyson's career ended, I want to say, early 2000s. He had a string of losses at the tail end of his career. Hear me out. I promise what I have to say will make sense if you allow it to make sense, right? If you don't want to give me a fair shake, then nothing I ever say will make sense to you. Period. But if you pay attention to the What Really Happened segment on my channel. I promise we can make it all make sense. So let's pull up Mike Tyson. Boom. Right here, this is Mike Tyson, box rec. This is his record, 50-7. All but 2 of these losses out of the 7, 5 out of the 7 were because he was knocked out. So 7 losses, 5 of them via knockout. Turned pro in 1985. Some of y'all weren't even born when Mike Tyson turned pro, right? But hear me out. There's the Jake Paul fight in 2024. He hadn't fought since 2005. Like I said, early 2000s. So it had been almost 20 years since he fought. And his fight with Kevin McBride, he actually lost, right? And he was like, I just don't got it no more. I don't have cuss. I don't have the hunger to do this. I don't got the stomach to keep fighting. So I'm gonna retire, right? Before that, Kevin McBride, he got knocked out in 4 rounds by Danny Williams. So again, if you look at his last 2 fights before he fought Jake Paul, 20 years before he retired, he retired and didn't fight for 20 years. They were knockout losses. And then before that, he had a fight with Clifford Etney and he won the first round knockout. But before that, it was a Lennox Lewis fight. So post-prison fight with Lennox Lewis, and he got knocked out in that fight too, right? So basically 1, 2, 3, 4. Out of his last 4 fights in his career prior to Jake Paul, he only won 1 fight. Not my opinion. I'm showing you, right? So 2002 to 2005, 4 fights, and he won 1 of them against this unknown kind of name. This dude, this kiss from a rose looking motherfucker. Kiss from a rose out the grave. My power, my pleasure, my pain. Bro, this is who he beat. The one dude he beat. Who's since lost 4 times, all by knockout. Right? So the point I'm making with this is the Mike Tyson fight. Mike is a legendary name in the sport, but I don't understand why people thought that was going to be a good fight when a person is 20 years removed from their pro career. And even if they weren't, which he was, you have Mike, who was 58 when Jake Paul fought him. He turned pro in 85. Like I mentioned, some of y'all weren't even born yet, right? And in addition to that, Mike Tyson lost mostly all of his fights but the one for the last 4 fights of his career. So he wasn't even like in his winning way at the end of his career that ended 20 years before he fought Jake Paul. So now popping shrooms, domesticated, having a podcast, he's going to beat a bigger, younger, active Jake Paul. So for me, yes, Mike Tyson, legendary boxer, that sold off of the name just because we all love and respect Mike Tyson's boxing career. But I wasn't impressed by that. You're supposed to beat someone who's probably, what age was Jake Paul? He was like 20 something. So somebody who's that much younger than you. You know what I mean? You don't really get peas from that. That's my point. So Joshua becomes a different proposition altogether, because the boxers you fought, Mike Tyson, I just spent the last 5 minutes talking about Mike Tyson. That's why that, I'm not going to say it don't count, because obviously it counts on his record, but it kind of don't count because of what I just went over. Then you fought Tommy Fury You dropped him, but you lost the fight and said, oh, I was sick, but you still lost the fight. So you fought an aged boxer who really had no business fighting again in a real sanctioned fight, right? Mike Tyson. You lost to Tommy Fury, and I didn't really understand it. That's why I said I'm going to watch it out of pure curiosity, because if you can't beat Tommy Fury, who I don't think is even half as good as Anthony Joshua, even a Joshua coming off a loss to Daniel Dubois, how are you going to beat a 6'6" Anthony Joshua in shape, right? And Jake Paul tried to tax him with the 245. That's still a lot of weight. And it looked like Joshua made the weight good. Weeks before the fight, he was like, all right, I'm already at weight, blah, blah, blah. So that didn't turn out to be a problem. He wasn't like weight drained. Jake Paul, if he was smarter, he would have had to cut that down and get Joshua to come at some like 225 or something like that. Because then coming from 260, Joshua's weighed as high as like a 260, coming down to like a 225, that would give you a significant advantage. But getting a guy who about the 250, 252 range down to 245, I'm a big dude, so I know this. I can fluctuate 8 to 10 pounds in a given day. When you're big, like 8 to 10 pounds, 6 pounds, you can lose that or gain it. Like, even being a big dude myself, I can in the morning time weigh myself and then have a full day and running around and eating. I could have the number on the scale can increase by the 8 to 10 pounds by the end of the night. You know what I mean? As opposed to early morning with nothing in my stomach. So that's what happens when you when you a heavyweight, basically. So I didn't really even understand this fight, to be honest. And I am talking about the stuff that didn't really have anything to do with the fight. We'll get to the fight now. It's because nothing really happened in the fight until something happened in the fight, which was round 6, right? I don't have all the rounds memorized. I will not go back and watch this fight as a whole. It just wasn't good. The first 3 or 4 rounds, Jake Paul was using lateral movement. But anybody who knows boxing, now we're going to get into this is for the real boxing heads, not these streamers who only watch boxing when it's a fight like this. Like, you had people like Aiden Ross, and he was like, oh man, Joshua's chinny. He been knocked out before. Well, now Jake Paul's been knocked out. He was like, I'm betting. First, he said he was betting 100K on Jake Paul. He told this to Jake Paul when he was sitting next to him. He was like, I trust you, man. I don't want to lose my money, but I think you can beat him. You could beat Joshua because he's chinny. I'm putting 100K on you. Then later, Aiden Ross did a stream with someone else, and it was like Rampage or somebody, and he said he's betting 30K on him. 70K less. So these dudes don't even know what they're talking about in my field, which is boxing, right? Because if you really believed in what you're saying, you should up the bet. You shouldn't lower the bet. Go from 100K to, oh, I'm only going to bet 30K, right? So that shows me you're not really you don't know boxing, and you're not really confident in your pick. Otherwise, you would just keep the 100K bet you told Jake Paul to his face, not what you told Rampage. So now I'm a break it down from a real life boxing head perspective. The fight never made sense. Jake Paul was moving unnecessarily. People think to be defensive, you have to move. That is incorrect. You don't have to move a bunch to be defensive. I know boxers personally that they can, and it's probably the most frustrating thing in the world for their opponents. They could be right there in front of you and you're still not hitting them clean. So the fact that I seen Jake Paul, maybe if he did it for a round, all right, no biggie. He's inexperienced compared to Joshua. But when I seen him moving and moving and moving and moving and moving, I knew this was not going to be a good night for him. Reason being, a man got to be congruent with what he said. Jake Paul gives you the showmanship in the theatrics, right? So he's like, I'm going to knock Joshua out. He playing with Joshua's pecs at the weigh-in. He's standing funny. He's doing all this stuff. And he's saying it with conviction, like, I believe it. 6-7, I'm going to knock him out in 6-7 round. And he's saying all these things. But the moment I seen him galloping around the ring, I knew he did not believe what he was saying, right? Because how are you going to win against an Olympian and you're just in mobile, fleet-footed mode? That can't be your game plan. That's not a sustainable game plan to beat an Olympic gold medalist, right? And he was just moving and moving and moving. And to be honest, this fight made Joshua look bad and it made Jake Paul look bad for two different reasons. So let's talk about what really happened. I tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Not too much good. The good is the lifelong boxer won, so boxing didn't look as bad as it would if he lost, right? 2, they made a lot of money. That's really the good I can tell you. But the bad is this. It was a horrible, awful fight. The bad is Jake Paul was fighting in a style you weren't going to win. All that stuff you said to promote the fight, it was apparent when you got in there, you didn't believe it, right? Because you were moving and there was no need to move that much. If you said you're going to knock someone out, explain this to me. If you said you're going to knock someone out in 6 or 7 rounds, and I think before he might have even said round 5, but we'll say 6, 7, right? If you really truly meant that and believe that, then how are you going to do it on the back foot, moving around in a large ring? That's the other thing. The ring was like 22 by 22. It was a huge ring, right? So it was very apparent, and the bad for Jake Paul is your readiness for boxing. This set you back because I think people thought you were further along than what you are. But this showed the experience gap was wider than expected for most people. People thought you were coming along and you're like, hey, but every time you fight an actual boxer who's not completely washed, who's about your size or bigger, Tommy Fury, in shape, big, around your age, maybe a little younger, you lose. Joshua, a little bit older, but bigger in experience as a boxer, not completely washed, even though he was coming off a loss, you got knocked out in a broken jaw. Made a video about the broken jaw, check that out. So that's kind of the bad for Jake Paul. All the promotion, all the stuff you did not believe. And it's funny that he walked out with Tekashi, because for me, it reminds me of Tekashi. Tekashi was like supposed to be gangster, right? Then he snitches on his pals. And then when they caught him at the Planet Fitness or whatever, he didn't really have an answer for that. Where's all the gangster stuff then? When they caught you in the bathroom or whatever. So that's what I've noticed with Gen Z and a lot of these streamers, right? They'll put on a show, they'll say things that deep down inside they probably don't mean, but it comes to light at some point. See, I come from a different generation. I was always taught, do not say things that you wouldn't say to whoever in real time. Like, I don't say stuff like, I wouldn't say, oh, I'm gonna knock Joshua out. In deep down in my heart, I don't think I can knock him out. You know what I mean? And I feel like it takes more of a man to do that. And here's the thing. You got people who are like, oh man, but Ego, you gotta give a lot of credit. First of all, I'm Ego. I ain't gotta do nothing. You do you, I'm gonna do me. But people are like, you gotta give so much credit because he took a risk, dared to be great. No. At this point, Jake Paul is a boxer. He's been boxing for 5-6 years. He's a boxer. You can't, I don't give out participation trophies. You can if you want to, but I'm not going to. Here's why. Because you can't have your cake and eat it too. Meaning, you said I'm gonna knock him out. You say he got no chin. You say I studied and I know all his flaws. But then when you fought him, you didn't fight like any of these things you said before the fight. And then now when it don't work out in your favor, we're supposed to play the small violins and have sympathy for it. You did not live up to what most people thought were your delusional like objectives or goals. And then we can't find a soft spot to land when that don't work out for you. You know what I mean? Because Jake Paul, here's the thing. Yes, Joshua was bigger than you. But how many guys has Jake Paul been bigger than? Right? And you're like, oh, but Joshua has more experience. But how many guys has Jake Paul fought that were smaller than him, that also had less experience than him in boxing? Ben Askren, smaller, less experience in boxing than he had. Nate Robinson, definitely smaller and much less experience in boxing, right? Mike Perry, smaller, less experience. So again, that's what I'm saying. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Now you finally fought someone bigger than you with more experience than you, and it didn't work out for you, just like it didn't work out for Mike Perry or Ben Askren or Tyron Woodley or whoever else you fought that was smaller that meets that criteria. You know what I mean? And that's the reality of it. So I'm not doing this double-edged sword where people are like, oh man, you got to give a lot of credit. I give credit to anybody who laces them up. Congrats. And then people are trying to make Jake Paul almost sound like a martyr here, right? Like, oh man, he shows so much guts. Really? Is that what we're doing? Because for me, I've used this example before. If there's a 4-lane freeway and you're barefoot running across 4 lanes of traffic, does that make you a daredevil? Does that make you brave? Like, look, I ran across and cars were coming. I don't think that makes you brave. I think that makes you like foolish to even try that, right? And then when you talk about like Netflix and incentivizing, they're paying you, I don't know the exact number, but Jake Paul says this will be his biggest earning year, and he's set to make almost 9 figures. So 50, 60, 70 million, whatever they're giving you, right? I've heard different numbers. If we're really being honest, for that type of money, who wouldn't do what? You know what I mean? Like, meaning if you could get $80 million, but then you have to jump in the ring with Mike Tyson, jump in the ring with Anthony Joshua, you would be kind of incentivized to do it. Even if you knew you weren't going to win. Put me in a big ring. Let me run around. Let me keep dropping and falling to my knees. Try to tackle you. Try to clinch. Try to buy some time. Occasionally throw like a big bombing right, overhand right or something. Hope I could catch you. And then when that didn't work, there was, I think it was round 5 where Jake Paul, he landed on Joshua, kind of bounced off his head, and Joshua just kept coming. And I was like, all right, you're not able to hurt him. This is not gonna do good. And then I think it was after that moment, his leg looked like it was like stiff or broken, and I was like, I don't know, is he playing possum? Is he joking? Is his leg messed up? Did he roll his ankle? And then he just kept getting knocked down and knocked down. He got knocked down like 4 times. And then in round 6, more of the same. Pretty much got knocked down, got cornered. Joshua started to come to life, cornered him, was hitting him, bop, bop. And then he hit him with a big right. And this is why it's bad for Jake Paul. It's bad for Jake Paul because in these moments, You got to maintain, no matter how hard it is, like a lifelong boxer, they maintain their form, even if they get knocked out. But the bad for Jake Paul here, for me, was he started to lose all of his form. He was breathing super heavy, breathing real heavy, right? Even when he was getting knocked down, he was like taking big breaths, and he started to lose his form. Like he threw a punch like that. It looked like he was trying to slap, or I don't know. It looked kind of weird, like flailing his arm almost. And he started to lose his form. His hands were going to drop. His hands dropped. Joshua, hit him with a right, sat him down. He gets up on the 9 count. And even that, yeah, he got up, but you knew you're going to get counted out if you get up as the person saying 9 when you got hit by a big. So people, they're like, oh, you got to give him so much pride. He didn't want no more, bro. That's what it looked like. That's what it looked like. Now, also, let's talk about the bad for Anthony Joshua. For me, people expected more from Joshua. If this is what Joshua is currently at, then I would have to favor Usyk in a trilogy rematch. Probably favor Fabio Wardley. The Dubois fight is a toss-up, depending on how Dubois is doing now that he got knocked out by Usyk again. You know, Moses Atuma, super dangerous for Joshua. Tyson Fury fight, super dangerous. You know what I mean? If it's because to me, Joshua looked like he was holding back. It looked like he was going rounds kind of carrying Jake Paul. To me, it appeared like if he really wanted to put the pedal to the metal, then he could have gassed it. That's what it looked like to me. It looked like he could have had his way and probably got, it was almost like, you know how like Stan Smith with the point shaving? That's what it felt like. It felt like, oh, I got to get it to this round and then I can, you know what I mean? Like it almost felt like it was a silent pack. Like it has to go, we had to give him at least 5 rounds and then you can kind of start coming out your shell a little bit. That's what it felt like to me, because for the first 4 rounds, Joshua, it was just weird. He was overshooting. He wasn't really jabbing. No body attack. No trickery. Like, Joshua has a hell of an uppercut. You've seen it in the Klitschko fight. Against a guy who's like a novice pro, like somebody who's like new to this game, most people, even seasoned professionals, don't necessarily have an answer in a defense for an uppercut. So you could blind him, like blind him with like a left and then like touch him with the right and then shoot an uppercut. He probably not going to be expected because of an experience gap. He's not going to be experiencing and expecting like an uppercut from underneath that will lift him up. Joshua wasn't even trying nothing like that. And he was almost fighting like too patient for me. Like, you're big, you're brolic, you got more experience. You was talking about you unalive your opponent. We have a license to kill, and it's my job to off him or unalive him if I have to. Like, you were saying all these things, but then you weren't really fighting like it. Joshua in rounds, I want to say 5 or 6, pretty much the halfway mark of the fight, that's when he started to open up a little bit more. And that also feels a bit weird, and that's why it also feels like Joshua carried him a bit. Here's why. Just think about it. Round 1, your energy health bar should be 100%. You ain't got hit yet. He ain't threw no punches yet, right? So you're at the maximum amount of energy that you're gonna have in the fight. If you had all this energy to throw these combos in rounds 5 and 6, halfway through the fight, when your health bar is 100% at the very beginning of the fight, why not throw some of these combos? And it wasn't like Jake Paul was doing this like wizardry where you're like, oh man, these shots are barely whizzing by me. I got to be on my P's and Q's. He wasn't really hitting you with nothing to the point where it would have really got your respect to the point where would be like, oh man, I got to stay clear of this dude. I'd never seen that because I think it was round 5. Jake Paul planted his feet through that right that he probably knocked out Tyron Woodley with or whoever, Ben Askren. Like the Hail Mary punch that he throws, the right hand, and it bounced off Joshua's head and didn't really get enough of a reaction. So it was even worse earlier in the fight because Jake Paul was moving, lateral movement, on his toes bouncing. And that showed a lack of experience because Jake Paul was burning unnecessary energy, skipping around in a huge ring, and you're a cruiserweight for real, fighting at 215. This whole fight was dumb. I try to tell y'all, the whole fight was going to be underwhelming, and I did not like it. And none of it made sense. To go from Tank to Joshua made no sense. To taunt and to be acting like Jake Paul, I'm gonna knock him out and he ain't got no chin and I can't wait, and acting like you had no fear of Joshua and he couldn't do nothing with you. Like, I was wondering, I'm like, either he's delusional or he knows something that nobody else knows, some secret about Joshua that he feels he's gonna expose, right? But come fight night, there was no real secrets. There was no secret exposed about Joshua. It turned out to be almost like entertainment and streamer talk. Like, let me talk this trash, and then when I can't live up to it, then at least I got paid type of deal. That's what it felt like to me. I don't know about y'all, but for me, that's what it felt like. So for me, it wasn't an enjoyable fight. It wasn't memorable. Joshua, I think he could have did more. It looked like he was being very apprehensive. It looked like he was fighting on 20-25% up until maybe round 5 and 6. And even that, you had a defenseless Jake Paul in round 6, hands dropped, couldn't keep his hands up. He was breathing heavy. Joshua, we've seen him plant his feet and hit Povetkin, hit Dillian White, hit big old Robert Helenius, big dudes, Klitschko, big dudes, and like lay them out where they're like badly hurt and sparked, right? And you can't put a cruiserweight to sleep that started boxing in the pandemic. Something about the fight to me felt fishy. It felt like Joshua, even though the broken jaw and everything, because the reality is this: I don't know what they did and how it went down or whatever, but I don't think the plan was to break somebody's jaw. But if you get punched, it could happen. Even if you don't put all the steam on your punch, if you get hit flush, you could get your jaw broke. It is what it is. You know what I mean? But it just felt like there was some holdback from Joshua, even with what he did. I really, truly feel like that. Now, it could just be instinctual or how I feel. You guys let me know in the comment section. But I really felt like you had Joshua. And I think his next fight will reveal what it is. Because if he goes back to fighting a regular boxer and he takes it super serious and he's throwing the same hard punches that we've known throughout his career, then I'm going to look back at the Jake Paul fight like, something definitely was up. Because that type of muted offense, Joshua, that's not what I'm used to. And I've watched, like, look at the Ngannou fight. He looked like he was trying to off Ngannou. Like he wasn't playing no games. And in this version, he was doing weird stuff. Like he was following Jake Paul and he was just like shadow boxing. Like he was just shaking out and moving around with him. Like it looked like he was working with Jake Paul. You know what I mean? And what working means is when you're like if you're a bigger fighter, Canelo, and you're working with Oscar Valdez, Canelo can't hit a little Oscar Valdez. If Canelo hurts Edgar Berlanga, Munguia, bigger fighters, he can't tee off on smaller Luis Nitti or Oscar Valdez sized dudes. So you just get in there and work with them. You know what I mean? You just work with them a little bit in sparring, but you don't go guns blazing. Or like, let's say Jerome Boots Ennis. Jerome Boots Ennis got people like Jack Catterall. He can't go full throttle. He's a 54 pounder now. He probably can't go full throttle on the smaller dudes in his division because he can hurt bigger dudes. So what would he do to the smaller dudes? You know what I mean? And that's what this Joshua-Jake Paul fight looked like, even with the knockout, even with the broken jaw and everything. It looked like there was some holdback from Joshua, in my opinion. Now, the ugly for me is it just was a pointless fight that almost seemed like it really didn't need to happen, right? Because the main event didn't deliver, and I don't believe it helped either person. It didn't make me more of a Joshua believer. Like, if you go back to top competition, Moses Atuma, Fabio Wardley, I don't know that you could beat guys, especially fighting like you did. If you're going 6 rounds with Jake Paul, who wasn't throwing that much offense, and that's how you look, and that's just the best effort you have in you, then I don't know if you're going to beat these other dudes, right? I don't think you could beat Tyson Fury. But if my theory about you held back is true, then okay, maybe Joshua has more in the tank. Bad for Jake Paul is like, he was saying, I'm the face of boxing. Where do you go here? People are saying this is a bad fight. You can permanently get hurt, and now you got a broken jaw in 2 places. For what? So I do have another theory. Here's my other theory. My theory is this. Cash rules everything around me. Cream get the money. One of my theories is this, that Jake was supposed to fight Gervonta Davis. Netflix liked the fight. It was a big name. We know Gervonta Davis has a brand. Everything was on par for that particular fight. I don't know what happened, but there were rumors that Shakur, Ray Ford, and the smaller fighters were giving Jake Paul issue. So it became a choice to opt out of the Gervonta Davis fight when this girl came up with these accusations on Tank Davis. And then Jake Paul took it and said, the Tank fight is over. He's a POS. We're not fighting him. We're not doing business with him. It wasn't Netflix. Tank's team already said that. So my theory is this. Jake Paul very well could have been forced to fight a dangerous fight, right? Because Netflix is a business. I highly doubt they really care about boxing, right? Like, oh, we're diehard. Because if you cared about boxing, you would have been in boxing a long time ago, right? So what I think happened is Netflix, they're trying to attract new audiences to their platform, make money, point blank, period. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, given the novelty of the fight, did just that. It got people to subscribe to Netflix or high viewership or whatever. So they like that. So with Tank out, Jake Paul electing not to go through with the Tank fight, finding that kind of way out, it left a void. And I think greed might be part of this conversation where I don't know his paycheck, but let's say $50 to $90 million, right? Because these are the reports. Jake Paul was no longer going to fight Gervonta Davis. So Netflix, they're not DAZN. They're not going to move like that. Like DAZN, they'll have darts and mud wrestling, all types of other. DAZN, Misfits, they accept any type of event. Netflix, I think they truly want premium, attractive, like festival type of fights, like Canelo Crawford. That's a respected enough name, both of them, so that can be on our network. I think they're looking for those like significant fights, right? So you're not going to fight Tank. We'll still put up the money, but we'll only put up this type of money if it's an opponent that we like as well, that we're willing to pay. Like, it has to be like, you have to keep the circus going. That's basically what I'm saying. You have to keep a name that we're comfortable, that's like a premium name. Joshua is a premium name. He respected, former 2X champion, Olympic gold medalist. And when you look at Jake Paul next to Joshua, you see a significant height difference. So it sells when you just look at it. Powerful guy, the optics match up to what they want. So one of my theories is that Netflix kind of forced Jake Paul. Like, if Jake Paul, I really feel like if he wanted whatever large paycheck that they were going to give him, he had to fight a dangerous fight. Like, they weren't going to accept another Chavez Jr. They weren't going to accept, just one of the, like, he fought that Andre Agassi, whatever dude name was. He fought Andre something, right? Augustus. They don't want no name like that. So that's where I think Jake Paul was kind of cornered, because a lot of people are like giving him a credit, like, oh, he fought Joshua. Yeah, you got 90 million reasons to fight Joshua, because Netflix probably not going to accept an Andre August or Ryan Borland. So I really think this hurts Jake Paul. I really do, because now you fought a second more in prime boxer. I wouldn't even say Joshua was in prime for real, but closer to in prime than other people. And then both times, Tommy Fury and now Joshua, you lose. You lose bad. So it really sets you back, because I think people thought you were further along. Like, you were being rated with the WBO or WBA. You were being ranked with one of them, right? So I think people thought you were further along, but you lost all your form in the Joshua fight the moment you had to fight someone bigger. And all of your talk, oh, I'm gonna knock him out, you didn't even come close to that. You didn't come close to that. It was like the same. Jake Paul, his inexperience really showed up at the higher level, because he was spamming the same moves. I'm tired. I'm breathing heavy. I don't know what to do. Tackle him. Fall to my knees. Clinch him. Sloppy, spilling over, falling over. Run, move around the ring, and occasionally take these blind faith, Hail Mary, penitentiary chances and try to wing and fastball something in there and throw some crazy desperation and see if you can catch him. But Joshua, being 6'6", not being your typical opponent, where you got to punch up to hit Joshua, stuff like that. It just created a different dynamic and really kind of exposed Jake Paul. You know what I mean? It exposed Jake Paul. And it really exposed boxing, because you had like Shakur Stevenson, Ray Ford. Ray Ford said he was picking Jake Paul to beat Anthony Joshua. Y'all always talk bad about YouTubers. Oh, you YouTubers don't know nothing. But Oscar De La Hoya is a boxer, and he picked Jake Paul by knockout to beat Anthony Joshua. I never said that. Ray Ford picked Jake Paul to beat Joshua. Shakur was talking about in Lawrence Okoli. They were like, oh man, he's so good. He's hard to hit. He was working over our sparring partners at heavyweight. Yeah, but Joshua is not a sparring partner at heavyweight. And there's no headgear, smaller gloves. This whole fight was stupid to me, bro. And I feel like it kind of trickles down to greed. Jake Paul wanted that type of money. Netflix willing to pay the money, but they're not willing to pay for just any old opponent. It has to be an opponent that they believe brings value, that they can make an event out of. So somewhere along the line, for whatever reason, big Anthony Joshua was picked, and you've seen how that played out. You've seen how it played out. So I really don't even know where Jake Paul goes from here. I mean, Jake Paul, first of all, he has to heal up because of his jaw. And Anthony Joshua, I mean, he has options. He could fight Tyson Fury or rematch Daniel Dubois. So Joshua, he still has options, even though he didn't look amazing to me. I still believe he didn't look amazing because I don't think that was the full 100% committal. Like, put it this way. If you took Anthony Joshua's family members and you held them hostage and said, destroy Jake Paul or you're never going to see your family again, I doubt that's how Jake Paul would look versus Joshua. I highly doubt that version of Joshua we've seen under duress and the threat of his family being held captive would be fighting like that. It looked like he was almost missing on purpose early in the fight. Like overshooting it, barely just missing. Like his timing just looked horrible. He wasn't jabbing. Like it didn't look like a regular Joshua fight. And I've watched, so Joshua, even when fights like Ruiz where he lost the first fight, let's not forget, he was the one that drew first blood and clipped Ruiz and almost had Ruiz out of there. Right? He fighting Jake Paul and he wasn't even doing, like, he didn't look like Ngannou Joshua, Takam Joshua, Dillian White Joshua, or even the Robert Helenius Joshua. Recent versions of Joshua we've seen, he looked more muted, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around that and understand it. And it looked like it was almost a way to try to legitimize Jake Paul. It felt like a Hollywood storyline. Like, yeah, Jake Paul will take a loss. He'll have a broken jaw. He'll take some time off, do some of his other businesses, and then we'll humanize him in this defeat, and then he'll bounce back. But now people will say he's ballsy for fighting a 6'6" Joshua. Yeah, he has courage. Yeah, but I don't know if a broken jaw was part of that plan. So that's ugly. Some fighters are never the same after these type of injuries. Or anything with your eyes, like orbital or jaw, you might not be the same fighter, truth be told. Because if a jaw got cracks on it, they're going to put metal and pins and all that in your jaw. It's not going to make your jaw stronger. Like, you're not all of a sudden Wolverine, the Terminator. You know, if you have like cracks and hairline cracks and broken jaws, that could be long lasting. You can have issues with that. Like, you never seen someone that you know and they got back problems forever because they got in a car accident when they were younger. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So usually a broken back or a broken jaw doesn't make your back is never better than it was if it had never been broken. Your jaw is never the same and better than before it got broke. In my opinion, I ain't never seen it. If y'all have, let me know somebody who had a broken jaw in two places and their jaw was tougher than ever when they came back. Like, their jaw became better. Because even knockouts, sometimes you see a fighter get chinned and knocked out. Like, what's his name? The kid that fought the white Mike Tyson dude, Antoine Douglas. After that, when he fought against the white Mike Tyson, the one that caught the Rico case, he was never the same fighter. Never the same fighter, off of that one loss. So this is Jake Paul's second loss, and now he has a broken jaw for it. So I just felt like money is cool, but we shouldn't be risking the health of fighters in such a way to bag up. I get it. Jake Paul want whatever Netflix was paying, but you're out of your depth at this point. A 6'6" Joshua who's capable of breaking your jaw, and I think he held back. So imagine a full throttle Anthony Joshua from round one who's seeing red. You literally could lose your life. Literally could lose your life in that ring. I don't think that's worth it. I don't think it's worth it. So it is what it is. Best of luck to both fighters. It just wasn't an entertaining fight, bro. Very sloppy, all over the place. Hard to find good, sustained action. The whole fight looked like this. Jake Paul proposing to Anthony Joshua on bended knee like Boys to Men. I'm down on bended knee. Boom, doom. You know what I mean? Spilling around. It just was an awful fight to watch. I really have a hard time believing, like, he was on his knee more than Kaepernick, bro. He just kept taking knees and stuff. It's not a fight I'll go back and watch. If anything, people will watch the final blows, like the knockout stuff. Like, oh man, that was a crazy. So they'll watch the last 10 seconds of it unfold. But as far as going back to watch the whole fight, ain't nobody going back to watch this, bro. It wasn't a good fight. I don't think it helped boxing. I don't think it helped the career of Joshua or Jake Paul. And if anything, it set Jake Paul back because he was saying, I'm the face of boxing, not Tank. I want to fight Canelo. Give me Usyk. And one thing I noticed that I don't think I put this on wax, but we'll put it on wax now. I might have. I don't know. I knew the game plan changed because I feel like Jake Paul, initially, Jake Paul was talking about fighting Canelo, fighting for a world title. And I always felt like his timeline at first was kind of realistic. He was like, give me 3-4 more years at this level, you know. So he made it sound like I'm gonna work up to like 19-1. I'm gonna work up to 20-1, like that type of record. And then by that time, give me Canelo and I'll be ready. But I feel like Jake Paul probably has a lot of yes men around him and people not keeping it real and people stroking his ego. And then somewhere along the lines, what did Stallone say in Rocky? Well, somewhere along the lines, you change. You let people point their finger and you stop being you, right? Somewhere along the lines, the conversation started to change with Jake Paul. And it went from saying like, give me Canelo in 4 years to I'm gonna fight Canelo right now, right? It went from I'll be ready for a world title in 4 or 5 years to I'm gonna knock out Anthony Joshua right now. And that's when it becomes problematic because if you got too many yes men around you and they're just stroking your ego, now they got you feeling like bulletproof. They got you feeling like invincible, right? Like, oh, he's getting better. He's so good. And then you got these fighters sparring with you and like, oh man, he's amazing. I was missing hitting fresh air. And then everybody, and he's probably a cool person. I'm not saying he's not a cool person, but what I'm saying is you can't have everybody singing your praise. Even in the fight, Logan Paul, there's a video of him taunting Anthony Joshua, taunting him, right? In the ring. And he's like, you lost every round. Not realistic at all. There was no round that Jake Paul won. How did he lose? How was Jake Paul winning the rounds and Joshua allegedly losing the rounds when Jake Paul was on his bicycle or on his knees? Like predominantly the whole fight. Legs looking stiff, taking desperation Hail Mary punches that weren't really landing. He didn't look like formidable. He looked like really had nothing for Joshua. So why would your brother be telling you or taunting Jake Paul's opponent like you're losing every round? And I feel like delusion is good. Like delusion, I don't know. Maybe that's part of it. Delusion can be good, but you can't have these affirmations and these delusions and delusions of grandeur and take it to the next level, right? What do I mean? Like affirmations are cool. Like if you're like, oh, I want to be a millionaire. Oh, I want to be a millionaire. I want to be a millionaire. You can keep telling yourself that, but at some point, that's not going to be enough to get you to become a millionaire. You still got to put the work in. And I'm not saying Jake Paul doesn't work hard, but what I'm saying is eventually, if you don't have the right people in your corner and the right team, you're going to have people who almost create a monster. And then now these affirmations are getting bigger. Your goals are getting bigger. Your ambitions are getting loftier and loftier. And it gets to a point where if you don't have people that can like put you in check or check your ego, no pun intended, check your ego, is going to create this. And then now you're thinking, I'm going to easily knock out Anthony Joshua, who's 6'6", Olympic gold medalist, because Daniel Dubois did it. But Daniel Dubois has also been boxing his whole life, and he hits harder than you, and he's bigger than you, and he knows Joshua from sparring. You didn't spar Joshua. You're not 6'4" like Dubois. You don't hit as hard as Dubois. You don't have the confidence that Dubois has, because Dubois has other people he sparred with, other top heavyweights, where rumor is that he held his own, right? Totally different fights. Totally different fights. So I just feel like it's good to be delusional to a point, right? You don't want to be delusional to the point where you're like, oh man, I'm gonna cook Steph Curry in the 3-point contest. You can say it all day, but then when you get out there and Steph Curry is shooting your lights out and the score is 93-0 or 93-3, you're like, oh man, I tried. I dared to be great. That's why I don't do participation trophies. I'm not doing that. I'm never going to accept that. We're not doing that over here on this channel, right? You have big goals. You take big swings. You're either right or you're wrong. In this case, Jake Paul was way wrong. He thought he could F with Joshua and hurt him and knock him out and all this type of stuff. And then he ends up getting pretty much beat down. As soon as Jake Paul started to gas and breathe heavy and Joshua started to find his shots, track him down, and look like he was actually trying to punch, levels. And this is what Carl Froch, myself, Andre Ward, and other people have been talking about. Levels to this boxing game. You don't play boxing. So Jake Paul, he tried it, came up mad short. Joshua, he did whatever that was until he got the knockout. Let me know what you think. And that's what really happened. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new. But even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate. So ultimately,